Hello, everyone. Welcome to the September Community of Practice. We have Clem Richardson here with us today. Before we get started, I want to introduce myself very quickly here. I'm Gauki, pronouns she, her, hers. I'm currently the Peer Specialist Program Manager at the Wisconsin Peer Specialist Employment Initiative at Access to Independence. For a visual description, I am an Asian American Hmong woman with medium cut black hair. I'm wearing a maroon shirt with white polka dots right now, and behind me is a blurred background. I'll hand it to Asiana to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this month community practice. We're so glad to have you here with us. My name is Asiana Yang, and I'm the Peer Specialist Trainer and Outreach Coordinator for WIPC at Access to Independence. A quick visual description of myself. My background is currently blurred. I'm wearing a gray shirt, and I am a Hmong American woman with long black hair that is currently in a clip. I'll pass this back on to you, Gauki. Thank you.
Thank you, Hacienda. And without further ado, I want to introduce Clem Richardson for his facilitation today. And just want to let you know that Clem does invite you to engage and participate throughout the facilitation. However, we do ask that you wait to ask your questions at the end of the facilitation. All right, I'll hand it on over to you, Clem.
Okay, thank you. I was ready to get started. How everybody doing? My name is Clem Richardson, and I'm looking forward to do this presentation. So go ahead and start the PowerPoint, please. That'll be really great. Thank you all for coming on, zooming in, and participating. So today I'm going to talk about ethics and boundary dilemmas. And so, how many of you had a dilemma before? Put it in the chat or thumbs up. Okay. They said me. Okay. All right. Latanya says thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay. So yeah, thanks, Cody. All right, Kendall. So yeah, so we're talking about as it relates to working in the field, whether you're peer support, social worker, counselor, case manager, it still applies to you. All right. Thank you, Leanne. All right. So next slide, please. So pretty much to put a disclaimer out there, the views and opinions of the content expressed in this presentation do not necessarily reflect the views of Man and Behavior Services, Access to Independence, or WIPSEI, Peer Support, or other entities represented here. These are some of the professional and personal situations that I have researched and experienced over the last 20 years of counseling, mental health, social work, and in the human service field. Let me share with you though. I will share real stories from historical context and how it relates to um, the way we're living in, the time we're living in, including my personal lived experience. Some of the pictures are alarming and may cause strong emotions. Please take a moment to take care of yourself and support yourself in a healthy way. And don't take it personal. You know, do just be the change that we need in this country. Okay. And also, some of this information might be challenging for you, but we need to talk about it. And that's the most important thing, okay? Next slide. So hopefully you learn from historical context about how systemic barriers influence some individuals to turn to drugs and alcohol. Learn how to build rapport with clients so they may feel more comfortable talking about cultural differences. Hopefully learn how to discuss the ethical dilemmas that are impacting in our profession. Gain a broad perspective by learning from clients while growing awareness of unconditional positive regard, learning how to work with post-pandemic influences people. And what I mean by that is we went pre-pandemic, we already had issues. Post-pandemic, it's got even more worse. So being able to have a non-traditional client care and counseling approaches instead of being more judgmental. You have some people who are teaching clients how to thrive in the midst of a pandemic or post-pandemic, and just being able to thrive in life, in their personal life. Next slide. So when you see that, what comes to mind? Put it in the chat. 1963 to 2020. What's different? And what do you see there? is is very parallel. Okay. Nothing has changed. Okay, somebody says nothing has changed. Lots of separation. Not too much has changed. Wow. And we're talking about 1963, 2020. More people wearing masks. All right. Civil unrest. Yes. Okay, so let's continue to go. Thank you. So we're still dealing with the same issues. It's gotten worse. Next slide. Okay, so according to the NSAW, um, Code of Ethics offers a set of values, principles, and standards to guide decision making and every professional conduct of social workers. It's relevant to all social workers and social work students, regardless of their specific functions or settings. So, according to the National Association of Code of Ethics in 2021, they updated includes language that addresses the importance of professional self care. Revisions to cultural competence standards provide more explicit guidance to social workers. All social workers should review the next text and affirm their commitment to abide by the Code of Ethics, also available in Spanish. So, what is that saying? We got to take care of self. Like I tell my students, and when I was teaching at MATC, I said, you talking about you want to help someone, you can't help anyone until you get the help that you need. So you want to be able to get the help that you need in order to come into this profession. So take care of yourself. All right, next slide. So we're going to talk about the deontology and utilitarianism, are two different ethical theories that provide framework for determining what is morally right or wrong. So deontology is an ethical theory that focuses on the inherent nature of actions themselves rather than the consequences of those actions are inherently right or wrong, regardless of the outcomes they produce. So, in other words, ethics is often associated with philosophers like Immanuel Kant. He said, don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat. What he's believing in is right or wrong. So that's what he believes in. So some of you got some of those beliefs, right? You have to steal anything from me. Just come ask for the cookie. You have to steal a cookie out of the cookie jar. That's morally right to come ask for something. So this theory right here emphasizes the principles and duties such as famous categorical imperative, which states that an action is morally right if it can be universally applied without contradiction. So, like saying, excuse me, thank you, please. That's morally right to do the right thing, right? Well, some people might not even do that. Next slide. Authoritarianism. Unitarianism, on the other hand, is a consequentialist ethical theory that evaluates the morality of actions based on the outcomes of consequences. So, in other words, it's often associated with philosophers like Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. And what it does is it focuses on the inherent nature of actions and the principles of duties that guide them, while utilitarianism access the morality of actions based on over consequences, and the pursuit of maximum happiness is unity. These two ethical theories have different approaches to determining what morally right and are often used in ethical discussions and debates. So let's go to the next slide and we'll break it down. So these are real scenarios right here, right? So what I want you to do, if you would choose to put it in the chat, the deontology is that's the one that's morally right, or utilitarianism. This is wrong. All right. So let's talk about it. And somebody put, this is the worst thing that ever going on. It's happening right now. A counselor was hired as the executive director for a 90-day residential program for men. He has 5 years sobriety. He relapses, began to use heroin, cocaine, then writes a suicide note apologizing to his wife, children, and clients. His wife calls the police. They apprehend him before he can hurt himself. As a result, 3 clients AWOL from residential treatment program and used drugs. And the client felt unhappy. upset, justified, abandoned about what happened, about the incident. So was this deontology or utilitarianism? I see them going in the chat. I see it going in the chat. That's right. Deontology. That's right. That's messed up. Morally, it was wrong. Okay. All right. You all get A's. That's right. That's correct, Dion. That's right. Okay. A therapist was hired as the program director of a women's and men's facility. She displayed a negative attitude, used vulgar language and inappropriate comments to staff and clients. This person had 10 years sobriety, unresolved trauma. We talk about the therapist here, due to her father abusing her mother physically and mentally. Her colleagues filed grievances due to her hostile work environment. This person was asked to report to corporate office and was terminated. The staff was happier, relieved, and now unified. What is this right here? Put it in the chat. The, that's right, utilitarians. That's correct. Yep, that's it. Next slide. All right, so these are some ethical dilemmas of case studies and scenarios. So here, your supervisor is borrowing money from his client, who happens to be a lawyer. In your gut, you know it's wrong. What do you do? Put it in the chat. What do you do? I told you I got some dilemmas. I work with those two people that reported. Okay, speak up. Yeah. Oh, somebody said talk to them. Okay. Confront. Okay, so yeah. So what I did was I reported it, but I quit that job. This guy was the CEO of this counseling company, and he was borrowing money from these high-end lawyers. That's an ethical dilemma. You don't do that. Your client asks, can they talk to you in private? He tells you that one of your coworkers, who happens to be gay, asks if he's making sexual gestures toward him. What would you do? Put it in the chat. What would you do? Okay, so what's that? Use protocol report. Okay, talk about it. All right. Ask the co-worker, talk to the supervisor. Okay, that's good. That's good. So this is what I did. This is what I did. So what I did is I went to him and I talked to him because I know he's, a recovering person. I said, you know what, sir, that's inappropriate. He said, okay, I'm not going to do it anymore. He confronted him again. His propositioned this client again. He would come after a lot of the younger clients. And then I went and told the supervisor, and he got terminated. So, yep, that was a process. You are working in a prison reentry setting, and your client probation officer states, I have to transfer my client to another probation officer because I have feelings for him. What do you do? Okay. Somebody say agree, agree, report it. Somebody say report. That's right. Be sure that they follow through with the transfer. That's right. Now, agree to transfer and talk with them. That's right. Agree to talk. So this is what I did. I talked with the probation agent. She had another new agent there. She told the client, I could no longer work with you. The client got upset. So they referred the client to another probation agent, which was a good warm handoff, and the probation agent moved on. She moved on with her life. So that's good. That's what you're supposed to do. If something else would have happened, then you report. But yeah, she moved on. You just started a job as a peer support counselor. So does your intern as a social worker. You are both in class. She does the splits in front of 10 inmates. What do you do? Somebody says, shaking my head, Lorraine. Okay. What do you do? So that's true. So let her know. That's right, Trinity. Joshua. Yes. All right. Y'all got some good ones. Yeah. Explain why it needs to stop. Lawyer, Lola, pull them to the side. Yes. Somebody said boots on the ground, Oliver Johnson. Talk to her about her behavior. All right. So I'm getting ready to write on the board. And before I could turn around, she did the splits in front of these guys. So I pulled her to the side, talked to her. I said, why did you do that? What's going on? So before I can go talk to my supervisor, one of the inmates came and said, hey, man, the social worker kissed me. So I told my supervisor what happened. After that, it was out of my hands. They terminated her. So that was yeah. You don't do that. Next slide. So what should you do? Those ethical dilemmas. All right, like you said. Someone said, "Wow." Next slide. So peer recovery versus addiction counseling. Peer support specialist. Why do I become one? The Art Hub peer support leverages shared lived experience for encouragement, connection, and practical guidance, while professional counseling involves a trained, licensed professional providing specialized evidence based on interventions for deeper psychological issues. Peer support builds empowerment through mutuality and role modeling for someone with similar struggles. So, whereas you're both working together for the common good of the client, there's no one better. You hear some people say, well, I'm a peer support. I do. That's great. But some of the professionals have lived experience too. They just went on and got a couple extra letters behind their name. I'll put it that way. But the key thing is you're both working for the client to help do a better good. When you're working with the peer support, you want to model that as well as the professional person with the credentials need to model professionalism too. So when counseling is offered, it's more structured, confidential environment for therapists, clinical approaches where we're writing and doing documentation, definitely confronting behavior or doing a lot of therapy, challenging some of those irrational thoughts and that nature. So it's different. It's a little different, but the key thing, you're still working together for the client. All right. So we're all working together for good. Next one. Awesome, Dorothy. Congratulations. Okay, so identify the key ethical issues. So in the Code of Ethics, you can find this as NSW. Social workers, it would be 106B, conflict of interest. Social workers should not take unfair advantage of any professional relationship or exploit others to further their personal, religious, political, or business interests. You can't have a client, you're trying to run for office as a elected official, you can have a client doing this. Okay, that's inappropriate. Sexual relations. Sexual social workers should, under no circumstances, engage in sexual activities, inappropriate sexual communications through the use of technology or in person or sexual contact with current clients, whether such contact is consensual or forced. Never do that. Next slide. So here's some of the key ethical issues. Conflict of interest. Social workers should avoid accepting requests from or engaging or in personal relationships with clients on social work networking sites or other electronic media to prevent boundary confusion, inappropriate dual relationships, or harm to clients. We had a PO one time that pretty much client was reaching out to her, and he was fishing. We call it fishing, and next thing you know, it happened. They got together, and when they found her car, when he was driving her car, her name came up. It was her car. So that happens. Termination of services. Social workers should take reasonable steps to avoid abandoning clients who are still in need of services. Social workers should withdraw services presumptuously only under unusual circumstances, giving careful consideration to all factors in the situation and taking care of the minimize possible adverse effects. Social workers should assist in making appropriate arrangements for continuation of services when necessary. So that's what happened. When the PO was done with the client, she gave him a warm handoff to a new probation agent. That's how you do it. All right. When work with another therapist, on the other hand, she just abruptly left and didn't have a plan of action, didn't have a treatment plan, didn't met with the client one time in 90 days. So that's inappropriate. You're supposed to have follow the steps and not abandon the client. You should have them turned over to your supervisor if you don't have another therapist or a colleague of yours. Next slide. Legal and ethical intersection. So the law and ethical principles overlap or come into conflict, it is the area where action or decisions may be legally permissible but raise ethical questions, or where actions may be ethical, sound, but potentially in violation of the law. Find balance. What is the morally right can be complex subject. So you gotta be. That's why you talk with your staff. That's why you talk with your supervisors. That's why you have those team meetings and you talk about the issues that just going on. Next slide, we'll talk more about that. So this is understanding it's a legal obligation or not. So a correctional officer legal obligation to inmates that are primary focus on ensuring the safety and well-being of the inmates while in security within this correctional facility. They may include the following: protection from harm. So you have some inmates. I work in an inmate setting where I work with reentry population. I work with outpatient clients. I work with youth and adults. So protection from harm, reasonable measures to protect inmates from violence, abuse, or harm for inmates or staff. Definitely want to do that. You have a legal obligation to do that. Access to basic needs. Inmates have the right to access basic necessities such as food, shelter, medical care, and reasonable living conditions. So definitely, you have some places where it shouldn't even be in there because you have issues where you may have rodents or you have um, food insecurities, all different types of things in these correctional settings. Due process. Inmates are entitled to fair disciplinary process, the right to appeal decisions, and protection against arbitrary punishment. Some guys that I work with are afraid to file a grievance on a social worker or peer support or whatever, or their supervisor of a program because they're afraid of the repercussions. They're afraid they might get revoked. They're afraid they might come at, they'll target them. So they don't do anything. They suffer and they get out, and some, make that excuse to go back and use, but some do. All right, next slide. Protection against discrimination. Correctional officers are obligated to ensure inmates are not subject to discrimination or harassment based on race, religion, gender, or other protected characteristics. Where you have some get treated fairly. So no disrespect to anyone, white privilege in prison. You have more of our white counterparts get treatment compared to the black part gets prison or revoked because of those different things. So you see some of them get privileges where they get a chance to be a trustee, with some, no, you lock in. You cannot come out. You're a criminal. I'm in here for driving. I didn't do it. Yeah, that's you're in here for driving, but you're still a criminal. Visitation and communication. Inmates have the right to visit their families through visitation and writing. Freedom from cruel and unusual punishment. Inmates should not be subject to cruel or unusual punishment as protected by the law of the Eighth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. That's real right there. One of the youth that back in the day I was working with, I used to be a youth counselor at STC, with gang prevention, and he was at Lincoln Hills, and one of the correctional officers were trying to lock him in. And the kid was trying to get out. They pushed the door on us and amputated his toe. So it's just it happens with the inhumane treatment. Next slide, please. So let's look at this. I don't know if y'all familiar, understanding legal obligation. Terrell Thomas, this man right here, was in jail. He worked in the Milwaukee County Jail. Some people put it in the chat. And he come in, he was known for running water, just run water. So they was told by their top official, Miss Nancy Evans. I worked with her at the House Correction. I did some fatherhood groups out there back in the day. She worked with Clark, Sheriff Clark back in the day. She gave the order to turn the water off. They turned the water off. Miss Jamie, and someone said they was there. And Miss Jamie here and Mr. Jamie Ramsey and Keisha, the lady here is Keisha. They turned the water off, but eventually the guy ended up dying from that. He died from dehydration. Yeah, died from
Medor
dehydration.
is her name.
What's her name?
Medor.
Nador?
Medor, yep. She
Ador.
was she
Case.
a guard down there. That situation was kind of weird because I think that pot was getting wet with like a cup. So it wasn't really drenching wet. And when they turned the water off, I think he kind of slung a bottled water as well. So it wasn't as like they was making off like he was flooding other cells, and that's not true.
Yeah, well, he died from dehydration. That's sad. So here the man died. I know his family. I know his son. His son is just like him. So those are situations they had a legal obligation to get the man some water. He needs mental health. He had mental health issues. All right, next slide. So here, there's another understanding the legal obligation right here. I don't know if y'all familiar with the Vicky White and Casey White. They happen to have the same last name. She was a correctional officer in Alabama, and she fell in love with this inmate. He was in prison doing time for 75 years for murder. He um, coerced her. They AWOL. She gets them out, tell them she's taking them for a mental health assessment. Next thing you know, they're on the run. So they're on the run, and when the police apprehended them, she ended up killing herself, shot herself, and he goes back into custody. And they charged him with the body, but I believe they dismissed it and just charged him with leaving the jail. So that's it. That's right. Stop criminalizing mental health. That's so true. All right. So Peyton Shires here, the social worker here. She's out of Columbus, Ohio, 27 years old, as a teacher and as a social worker in the class. She started seducing a 13-year-old boy, and they had relations. And this is like 2022, and she's doing time for that right now. Yeah, but that's an issue. We just read that you should not engage in any inappropriate behaviors like that. Next slide. So confidentiality, how do you navigate confidentiality and conform consent? So social workers adhere to a strict code of ethic that include a duty to protect confidentiality or client information. and even views of peer support too as well. Form consent explain that the limits of confidentiality to clients during the initial intake process. So they should be signing that and doing that right when you're doing your intake, whether you're peer support, social worker, counselor, or whatever. So you want to explain the process. Social workers provide clients with a clear explanation of the services they offer, the purpose of potential and risks and benefits. You can't guarantee it confidentiality, but you do stress it because people talk. Unfortunately, people talk a little bit too much. Voluntary agreement. Clients must provide informed voluntary consent to engage in services. So this is often documented through a written consent form. So ongoing communication, social workers maintain an open and ongoing communication with clients, discussing any changes or potential breaches of confidentiality. All right. So next slide here. Why do you keep confidentiality and have clients sign consent forms? Put it in the chat. All right. Put it in the chat. Someone says safety, protect both, legal reasons, build and maintain trust. That's right. Safe, respect. That's right. Okay. Trust, privacy, maintain relationships. That's it. Safety for all. HIPAA. Come on now. HIPAA. That's true. Okay. That's right. Protection of healthcare information. That's correct. Next slide. Navigating confidentiality and informed consent. Keep client information private. That's right. You all said this right here. Not disclosing it authorized individuals. Use secure record keeping systems to safeguard information. Discuss confidentiality with client throughout the relationship to establish trust. You build a rapport with them. You go tell everything. They ain't gonna trust you like that. And professionally, you're supposed to do that anyway, unless you have a consent form to him to talk to a doctor or his wife or whomever you may be working with. You can share with it in the staffing. Seeking written consent before sharing their information with others, except in case where there's duty to report potential harm to the client or others. Okay, we're going somewhere. Informed consent. Providing clear, and I'll explain what that means when we're going somewhere in a minute. Providing clear and comprehensive information about services you offer, the purpose of interventions and potential alternatives, discussing the limits of confidentiality under which information might be disclosed without consent, allow time for clients to answer questions and make their own decisions. You don't coerce or challenge them to make a decision, they'll make it on their own time. If you don't, that's my supervisors always told me this. If you didn't write it down, it didn't happen. I've been taught that since 1999. Documenting the process, including the client's understanding and agreement in the client records. And also, you make a note for yourself. Next slide. Oh, Terrence. Wow. My heart goes out to you, Terrence. Thanks for sharing that. Now, when do you break confidentiality? Come on, put it in the chat. Somebody put that there. Yeah, when they're endangering themselves or others. Dorothy said danger, abuse, unsafe. Okay. Okay. Intimate danger, legal requirements. Okay. Okay. Y'all all get A's. Y'all are really, really intelligent group. All right. Okay. We can save the questions a little bit later. Next slide. So, duty to warn is legal and is ethical obligation. This applies to mental health professionals, counselors, social workers, and therapists, and peer support. It requires you to breach confidentiality and warn potential victims if they believe a client poses a serious threat of harm to others, adhere to policies, and supervisors this principle of balancing the well-being of the clients and the safety of victims. So I don't know if y'all remember this guy right here. Peer support are not to mandated reporters. They need to talk to the therapist if they're working with one. They need to report it there. If you're working with a team, peer support, you need to report. Don't hold these clients' secrets just because you've been there. It depends on, yeah, but you need to reach out to your superior who you need to talk to. Because these clients they're good manipulators. They will tell you something, but they'll tell their therapist something else. That's called staff splitting. So you got to you need to warn, hey, that Joe Smo is talking about, going over there to jump on his ex-wife because she won't let him get his boat or whatever the situation. I don't know. I'm just making up something. But you need to let someone know. All right. Don't hold their secrets because they're good manipulators. They don't tell my therapist. You got it. You're a peer support. You understand me. No, I do, but I need to talk to someone. All right. This guy right here, Robert Carr, went in and shot and killed 18 people. It was a sad situation. And yeah, and he killed himself. He's had some severe trauma and mental health due to um, the war, military. So this is serious. Mental health is real serious. We don't joke at it, don't play with it. People, especially now with social media, people are really, really hyper and really violent. Okay. So next slide. I'm not gonna stay on that too long. All right. So even with sex offenders, so if you know they're moving in your neighborhood, people usually put out these big these signs, or you go on the internet and find out where they're located at too as well. They have to go to work and eat too as well. So, but still, you want to be aware. This situation right here, I don't know if you noticed in Milwaukee, this young man right here, uh, pretty much, he had domestic violence issues. He, a few years back, went on Facebook, tied his girlfriend up, and then he's like, man, mental health is real. He had a gun to his head. His son was walking around him, and he said, man, he took the gun, shot her in the head, and told his friends to come get his son. And then he took the gun, and shot and killed himself. So domestic violence is real. And someone tried to warn them that he was on his way over there, but he shot the security officer at her apartment and so on and so forth. So you're starting to see in that with now where the murder suicide where they'll kill their spouse and then they'll kill themselves. Next slide. Reporting and documentation. So we got legal, ethical obligations to do it. Accountability to help social workers be accountable for their actions. Communication, social workers often collaborate with other professionals, agencies, and CPS. Assessments and planning is crucial. Assessments for clients' needs, progress, and challenges, and adjusting intervention plans based on tailored to the client's specific situation. All right. Next slide, please. So reporting and documentation. So you want to be able to, it helps you to stay on point if you do your research and evaluate. So historical record. Documentation serves as a historical record of client case, especially if you're moving on and they might end up back in the system. Someone could go back a year or so later and look at the notes and see how you've written that and how it helps better serve the client. See how he has improved or she has improved or they decrease in improvement. Okay. Next. Here, another one, risk management. Accurate documentation can help mitigate risks associated with client care. See, same thing here. Funding and reimbursement. Many social worker services are funded by government agencies, so it helps your agency looks good and makes you look good too and professional as well. All right, if you're doing the documentation. All right, next slide. So yes, one thing about it, yeah, so many people wanted to. I want to be a therapist. I want to do peer support, but you got to do right. You got to write. You got to be able to know how to write. So stop whining. Just do it. Do the work. It calls for, like I tell my students, 10% of it is counseling, group, and all that. The other 90% is documentation. It is a lot of notes. It is. It is a lot of notes. Okay. All right. Next slide, please. In your own words, what is cultural competence? Put it in the slide. Put it in the chat. It's all there in CCS. That's right. What is cultural competence? Understanding. Okay. Understand. Okay, Lorraine. Heather. Okay. Empathy. Knowing a lot about different cultures. That's right. And that's right. And Mark King. Yes, sir. Tanisha. Lorraine. Yep. Kenyatta. Yep. Paul. Being open-minded, Lisa. Okay. Awareness, Lisa. Yep. That's good. You guys on it. You very, very. All you got A's. Next slide. So here, uh, that's right, Terrence. Dorothy, yeah. So cultural competence, often spelled as cultural competency, refers to the ability of the individuals under. You just shared all this. Communicate with people of diverse cultural norms, beliefs, values, and practices of different groups. Cultural competence is essential in various fields such as healthcare, education, business to provide equitable and inclusive services and avoid misunderstood or bias based on cultural differences. Next slide. So when you look at this man to your left, what's your first impression? Put it in the chat. Come on. Must be cold. Somebody said thug. Okay. Cool dude. Okay. A person might be in a struggle. Somebody said gang related. Somebody said stereotype. All right. Oh wait. What's your black man sad? Jody said. Okay. Hoodie. Okay. What about the guy in the right? What's your first impression? He said going to court. Angela Clemens said he going to court. Handsome, okay, professional, businessman, uncomfortable, square, uh-huh, likes to dress, stereotyping. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So the brother in the hood is Cephas Williams from England. He's a founder and photographer of the 56 Black Men Movement Drummer Boy Studio. He said, I'm not my stereotype. He started this because people stereotype black men most importantly. He started doing the movement regarding the young man that got shot and killed in Missouri. Dr. Hamilton, right? Oh, that's Milwaukee. And it's just sad that people still to this day still stereotype. So the campaign looks to challenge the negative connotations the media portrays of black, brown, and yellow people. They automatically stereotype. All right. So this man doing some great work. Next slide. Say Jay Morrison. He one time, 3-time convicted felon. Jay Morrison went to prison. He was in Rikers Island prison. Got out. When he got out, this time he said, "I'm taking care of myself," and his net worth over $10 million. Holla at your boy. He's doing phenomenal. So he's a real estate icon, not just in New Jersey, but in Atlanta where he moved, and he's buying block by block. So people look at the outer appearance, but guys look at the heart. So, all right, next slide. So, let me ask you this. Are you conscious of your own biases? doing care of clients, patients, experiences, mental health stuff. Are you aware? Someone say amen to that. Are you aware of that? Absolutely. Okay. Do you have difficulty serving diverse or rapid increasing diverse populations? What are your beliefs about people with alternative lifestyle, even though it might conflict with your lifestyle? Muslims and Christians. So people often, and hey, I ain't saying I'm all that in the bag of hot flamings. I just stereotype anybody that was a sex offender. Because I have daughters. And I told my supervisor, I'm not working with that population. I'm not working with them. But when I found out their historical piece, what they've been through, it was a traumatic events. So that had passion for them. So yeah, you got to be aware to be able to work with people, what's going on. All right. Next slide. The role of competence in social working with BIPOC. Did you know they came up with another name? Why do you always they come up with this? They got Negroid, then the NIGGER, then they have the NIGGA, now they got colored, then they got black, then they got African American. Now they got the Black Indigenous People of Color, BIPOC. I mean, I didn't get a chance to vote on that. It was going to change anyway. So, yeah, you're right. Our soul is the same color. That's right. Breathe the same blood. So Hispanic, Native, and someone asked me this right here. I worked at that place. I worked at where the guy, that was a true story actually, where the guy I was working for, this guy was from New York. He owned this big outpatient counseling company. He was a rabbi. And he said, I don't know anything about counseling. I just want to make some money. That's what he said. And then one of my coworkers, who was a social worker, she asked me, she said, hey, what is that cologne you're wearing? Are you metrosexual? I said, first of all, metrosexual, I looked it up, come to find out, that's an urban stereotype. Again, urban men who like to dress well and smell good. Let me share something with you. That's another stereotype. People should dress in the way they want to, as long as it's professional now. But so these are some of the stereotypes I was faced with. One of them told me I have black friends. I said, what does that got to do with me? So a lot of times, some people are threatened by another person's ethnicity. Then some people ask people, do you like sports? Everybody watch sports. I watch stocks. Do you like fried chicken? See, most people like fried chicken, not everybody. How about air fried chicken then? So those stereotypes. And so when you're working with people who don't look like you, whether you're peer support, or whether you're a therapist or social, whatever your role is, how do you work with people? All right, next slide. All right, come on. Let's play this video right quick. And I want you to put your comment in there after we play this real quick video, okay?
How many of you don't think that you're going to see the age of 30? Saying that there's no hope for any of you?
Houses. We in a war, but we don't know who we fighting or why. We keep getting shot and killed every single day.
It's kill or be killed? Is that what you really think?
What we telling you is we live in 53206.
Let's get a hustle. Let's get it. I know you're gonna sing at my next barbecue.
If you cooking, I'm singing.
I tell you, streets don't love nobody.
You know this last night, 5 the night before that. You ever wonder why us? Why are we suffering? Why is Milwaukee the worst place for Black people to live?
Born in this war zone, so seem normal.
Well, you know.
When I was your age, we were safe in these streets. There wasn't no gunshots. Trust and believe. We handled our business.
But this right here, what we used to use.
It's Linville and his cousin Oscar. No, I need to talk to you. Stop worrying, bro. I told you I got you. What? Oh, ain't shooting at me.
I gotta do something.
Well, if you got a magic formula to change the 53206, I advise you to share it. You can sing. You can inspire. Make a change that way.
Why are you trying to play me? People ain't getting high in the 53206.
Just take your pain and pour it into the song. Go, go!
I'm done. We gotta get to the money together. A peace rally. I'm gonna get everybody.
No, he didn't deserve this. I get 25 to life.
You don't solve violence with just more violence.
I mean, parents burying their children, their babies has been murdered. It ain't right.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. Next slide. Some people putting it in the chat. Next slide. What's your thoughts on that? This picture right here. Okay. Pressure. Okay. So many conflict. Sad but true. Violence. Okay. All right, next one. Socialization of young black. So learning from historical context, Dr. Joy DeGruy says here that post-traumatic slave syndrome is a condition that exists when a population has experienced multi-generational trauma resulting in centuries of slavery and continues to experience oppression and institutionalized racism to this day. The young man, Tamir Rice in Ohio, who was shot by the police, young kid, had a toy gun. This man, right, hung. And recently, my sister texted me from Cleveland, Mississippi, where a young college student was hung because he's going out with a white young girlfriend, his girlfriend's wife. That just happened. That was on World News tonight. This right here, you know, Floyd Mayweather, George Floyd. Come on, I mean, that I can't even watch that video when his knee is on his neck. That triggered me. And then Breonna Taylor, you know, where they ran in the wrong house and shot it up. So, but then the violence that continued to happen in the community, and it has gotten worse. So you're going to see a lot of clients or people that come to your agency or to your company that you work for, and these are the populations that we're working with. They got severe traumatic situations that they're dealing with. Come on, next slide. Racial injustice is economic injustice. How many of you believe that? Put that in the chat. I do. Okay. Lord, yes. Yes, it is. Come on, next slide. What's your thoughts when you see this? So you got people that's coming in that people ain't even looking at it's a policy driven society now. So I make America great again. Only time America was great when people were enslaved. And so you have dictatorship and things that's happening, and whether the person is Republican or Democrat, we need some help. We don't need no handout. We need a hand up. Next slide. Addressing diversity and promoting inclusivity. Economic Policy Institute. So found as the nation began opening up the wake in 2020, coronavirus pandemic, white workers have recovered more quickly. The seasonally adjusted white unemployment rate dropped 14.2% in April, 12.4% in May, whereas the black unemployment rate rose slightly from 16.7% to 16.8%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So you can't point to one period of time, a single statistic or cultural factor to explain why the average black American or any American has tiny fraction of the wealth of a white counterpart. Instead, there's a broad range of elements to play, and mortgage lending practices dating back century ago to higher car insurance rates for drivers living in black neighborhoods today that have compounded over the decades and collectively result in systemics that's unfair, if not overtly racist. Next slide. So you got to deal with the cultural competency. And you got to understand when they come, and they will, some of them talk about racism, they may talk about classism, they may talk about food insecurities, they may talk about housing insecurities, or whatever they're dealing with. That's not time to be judgment. That's time to talk and be culturally competent. So here we're not gonna go through all the terms. That's right, Tulsa Massacre. The ethnocentrism is systemic racism, period. You got culture destructiveness, culture incapacity, cultural blindness. So here, you go to some of these hospitals where they only work with a certain group of people, where you go to certain hospitals in certain neighborhoods, they make you wait 2 or 3 hours. You go to certain areas, you just go right on in and get seen. So then also with this cultural incapacity and destructive, what they do is they go back to Africa or go to Mexico. As a matter of fact, ICE is coming to get you, and we're going to send you back over here. So this is ethnocentrism. You see that on the news every day. And then you have here ethno-relativism, if I'm saying that right, ethno-relativism, there it is, where they're explore cultural issues, committed to access and needs of organizing and individuals. So they're helping to meet you right where you're at. They don't care what ethnicity you come from, where you're coming from, whether you, I don't care what prison time you did, or what's going on. They're helping you out. All right. And then the next slide. We ain't gonna be able to finish that one. Addressing diversity and promoting inclusivity. That's what we want to get into. That's right, Terrence. You're right. We want to be aware of our unconscious biases. We all have illicit and explicit biases. Communicate the importance of managing biases. Promote pay equity. Develop a strategic training program. Acknowledge holidays for all cultures. Make it easy for your people to participate in employee resource groups. And mix up your teams. So that's how it works. If you feel uncomfortable, that's good. Work with somebody else who don't look like you. Next slide. Supervision and consultation. So what is consultation meaning? All right. So, you want to be able to communicate. You want to be able to, talk. You want to be able to have good time management. You want to be able to be. So I have interns from Marquette, UWM, MATC. So I'm making sure that I supervise them in the right way and let them know I'm spending time with you. I'm going to be able to engage you in discussion. If something difficult, let me know. Let me know if some guy's trying to wink at you or flirt with you in the groups. We're going to deal with him accordingly. That's inappropriate, So being able to engage them and do some good conflict resolution. That's what it's about. Next slide. Importance of supervision, real quick. According to the NSW Code of Ethics Supervision, you can look that up. Social workers who provide supervision or consultation should have the necessary knowledge and skill to supervise or consult appropriately and should do so only with their area of knowledge and competence. Now, if you can't do that, if you're not knowledgeable of that, get some help. Go ask someone. Don't just be out here as a loner. This is not alone. I got to where I'm at because I did research and reading, and I listened to my supervisors. And I have mentors. So people that I can talk to. Social workers who provide supervision or consultation are responsible for setting clear, appropriate, and culturally sensitive boundaries. And I usually do that right at the group. I said, we're not going to say any disrespectful words. We're no matter nobody's ethnicity, age group, or whatever, we be respectful towards that. Next slide. What's your thoughts on this? Ethnocentrism. Yeah, it's going on right now. Craziness. Okay. And some of them out of prison now, too. As a matter of fact, all of them got quit it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is what's going on. All right, next slide. So you might have a client that's coming in like that, like this. I had a client that we was doing some groups. I can tell this real quick story, and he was a part of this white power group. And I had some guys who was part of a Black Gangster Disciples group too as well that we had to get out of there because any group that promote hate, that's not a good thing. Period. I don't care what group you're part of. And he he went upstairs to use the bathroom while we was doing group. It was 24 men in there, and he was gone for a long period of time. And something in my gut feeling says something's not right. So I go, and the receptionist called Richardson. Could you please come to the front? Her voice sounded distressful, like something was happening. So I went upstairs, and he had them hostage. He had the program director, the executive director, and the counselors and the employment specialist hostage. So I pretty much trained in martial arts and stuff. I didn't jump on the guy, but I learned how to talk and diffuse the situation to de-escalate it. And we diffused it. They moved on, called the police, we got him out of there. So things happen in those different settings. So just be aware of that, okay? All right, next. You see a lot of the white domestic terrorism that's going on. What would make a kid go into, this guy right here goes into a grocery store in Baltimore, and yeah, hate is true, and shoot up all these people and kill them. So you see that now the terrorism is not from Muslim brothers, it's not from you know gang members, it's from pretty much 65% my white counterparts. You have some Middle Eastern 13% aid biracial. But this right here these are some of the people that you may be working with are coming through social media terrorism. That's true, Denise. Coming through your office that you'll be working with. We live in a total different time. Now, you got to remember, like I said before, pre-pandemic is different from post-pandemic. It's heightened, it's mental health has gotten worse, terrorism has gotten worse, so it's gotten worse, y'all. So we can't just walk around with our heads in the sky like this is cool. No, you got to be really on this. You got to be watchful and what's happening in our society today. And it's going to get worse, unfortunately. Next slide. So what will you do? All right, next slide. We ain't gonna be able to go over that. How to seek guidance and support when facing ethical dilemmas. So Carl Rittenhouse ran into his mother took him from Chicago to Kenosha, and he ended up killing 2 people, and he's got acquitted. Now this is a military guy. He's a military. What do you think would have happened to him if he would have ran into that situation by the cops? Put it in the chat. Okay. Does Put it in the chat. Okay. The social worker right here. Yeah, that's right. The social worker, Ms. Perez right here in Racine last year, she was taking contraband to inmates while in prison, while they was in the county jail down there. And she ended up getting charged with that. So we got some dilemmas going on. Next slide. All right, next slide. So, this ethical dilemma. This social worker right here was a social worker. He started having relationships with his client. They had a baby. Guess who they gave the baby to? Just take a wild guess. Put it in the chat. Yep, they gave it to him. Why they give it to him? Put it in the chat. That's right. White privilege. He never did a time in jail. Never lost his. I think he suspended his license, but yeah, yeah, yeah. Somebody say he looks better. That's sad. Don't say that. Okay, next slide. State law requires an employer that terminates, suspends, or restricts employees of a licensed social worker as a result of adverse or disciplinary action against the credential holder relating to his or her practice of social work. Report the action appropriate examining board within 30 days. Wow. Next slide. Help to clients to thrive in the midst of a historical generational pandemic. We got a pandemic. We're not talking about COVID. We're talking about this is where we're going to see a lot of people that's coming out, that's here, that need help, that need resources. We don't need more jails. We need more, yeah, for veterans too. Yeah. Next slide. We need more treatment. We need more help. How do the clients thrive coming from the war of heroin? Okay, so we got the war on drugs, which was a war on black, brown, and yellow people. Then you have Reagan come out. These are about systemic issues. That's the dilemma that's still impacting us to this day. So you got the 80s, the Reaganomics, where you're talking about crack cocaine dealers, but him and Oliver North and his buddy Bush Sr. was trafficking drugs over here. Here, we need support. Yeah, they need to provide support. Then three strikes, you're out law. Then Bush over here talking about the weapons of mass destruction in Afghanistan. So we're over there to guard all the weapons. How many of you know that Afghanistan grow more opiate plants than ever? About 90% opium plants that was trafficking this stuff over here. So we got some issues. We got some dilemmas. Next slide. Here, and they blame everything on conditions and other people, you know. So here, where you know you can go find the books that support what I'm saying. Now we have fentanyl. Remember, crack cocaine is criminalized, but with fentanyl, it's a public health problem. Why do you think that? Why do you think they put this as criminalization, but this is a mental health, it's a health problem? Put it in chat. That's right. We have more of our white counterparts dying from it, and powder cocaine doesn't look as bad as crack cocaine. That's true. Next slide. Now we got this going on. No more funds for public education. We don't have that. But we got the prison industrial complex. Did you know they're getting ready to build a refamish and revamp Alcatraz? Yeah, they're going to reopen it. Next slide. Ethics and balance. So understand that background information. Understand who they are, whether African, Americans, Hispanics, whites, disadvantaged, whatever ethnicity, teens, challenges, LGBTQ, whatever a person may come from. This time to work with them. Get together with other like-minded professionals and discuss what you can do if someone's different from you. Meet the client where they're at means that you don't just give them one size fit all, you know, so you may be able to help them right where they're at, but also find other different approaches. Instead, we are encouraged to constantly assess what he or she or the child may need. You never get to a point where, okay, I know what they need. No, the client will tell you what they need. Come on, next slide. The first step to helping clients thrive, addressing the bias in services, combating racism beyond desire, it requires that humility, time, which some of you may be committed to this call. Ask the challenging questions. If you don't know, you're uncomfortable, refer the client to someone else. Some of the clients doesn't trust social workers or counselors due to systemic issues and civil unrest, police brutality, and authority figures. We should continue to allow, always draw out clients' strengths and refuse to capitalize off his or her weaknesses. The client will tell you, your best teacher is this, your client. If you feel uncomfortable about talking about systemic and multi-generational issues, consult with other therapists, social workers, counselors about their process, personal, overt, or covert biases. Those are some of the dilemmas that some social workers are afraid to work with people that don't look like them. Next slide. And they pick up that fear. In closing, you also want to, these are some of the core values of social work. The ethical principle behind social work is to help people in need and address social problems. See, we just talked about social problems. Social justice. Professionals in the field challenge social injustice, a bias of sometimes you have to put your advocacy hat on. Advocating for the oppressed, the voiceless, and everyone else unable to advocate for themselves. Social workers deal with issues ranging from poverty, homelessness, to racial oppression, sexual discrimination, and other injustices. Next slide. Dignity and the worth of persons. Social workers respect the inherent dignity and the worth of those they serve, the importance of human relationships. Social workers should recognize the social importance of human relationships, integrity for clients and communities. To trust social workers, these professionals must demonstrate trustworthiness at all times. Social workers must also uphold the core values of ethical guidelines of their professions. You should do this right here. Like this is what I tell the clients. And I posed a question. I said, what is integrity? And they have some of them, I don't know. It said, doing the right thing even when no one's looking. That's integrity. Next slide. So this young lady right here, whether you're peer support, a counselor, social work, you want to be competent. Social workers should practice within their areas of competence. And this young lady did. She got an award for being able to do that because she's an awesome social worker. Her name was Tamika Piggy. All right. So she's doing great work. Just like all of you, you're doing great work. Next slide. For me, I grew up and raised in Milwaukee, 53206, they just shared. And so with that, I grew up in that area, single parent mom. By the time I was 13 years old, got involved in gang culture, stayed in that gang culture for about 17 years. About the time I was 15, selling powder cocaine. Sister was shot and left for dead on Port Washington Capitol. Brother facing life in prison for murder. I'm in and out for selling drugs. And so that situation was normalized dysfunction. They made it look cool going in and out of state and federal prison. But by the grace of God, I pretty much turned my life around, turned my life over to God, and He helped transform me. Scripture says, "If we no longer transform this world, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by renewing of your mind." My mind started to change. Went back to school. From there, I opened up my own counseling company, Managed Behavioral Services. From there, I got married. So what I'm saying, you can change anything you put your mind to. That counselor that used and fell off, I was a client while he was in there. I didn't AWOL. I stayed there. Lastly, I do have a book. You can purchase a book on Amazon or from me or Zibris, and it's White Keys, Black Lines. It goes in deeper. All right. Thank you for your time. Any questions at this time? Real brief. Comments? Next slide. Put the title of the book in the chat. Okay. All right, next slide. Leading with positive ethical values builds trust and brings out the best in people, which brings out the best in the organization, which leads to great results. You are awesome. All of you are awesome. If anybody ever told you today, I'm going to tell you that you're awesome. Continue to do the great work that you're doing, even though if they don't celebrate you, you celebrate yourself. If they never say thank you, you still do it anyway because you're awesome. You're awesome peer support. You're awesome therapist. You're awesome counselor. Why? Because you're doing God's work. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you, Clem. This is Goki. I'm coming back on here. As you all saw in the chat here, we did provide the feedback survey. One thing I do want to just clarify through this facilitation that Clem so thoughtfully put together. As certified peer specialists, we did talk about being mandated. We talked in this facilitation about being mandated reporters and documentation. And knowing certified peer specialists, we do not train folks to be mandated reporters. So that does mean that you do need to look at the agency you're working with. If they are stating that you as a certified peer specialist does need to be a mandated reporter, then yes, you would need to be a mandated reporter, but we encourage you at WIPSI to reach out to us to talk through how you can advocate for not being a mandated reporter, because we believe in autonomy and self-determination, that when we do feel that someone is in harm's way, whether it be to themselves or to others, it's important for us to have that deep and hard conversation with them and say like, hey, I'm worried that you might be hurting yourself soon. Like, what's going on? Tell me more. What's your mind going through? Like, let me sit here with you, right? That's the beauty of our role. And so I wanted to just correct that piece of discussion that was brought up through this facilitation, as well as documentation too. It's so hard to document about folks who are going through the recovery when you know that you've been there before. And so being mindful of that piece and learning how to best document about folks' experiences, just like how you would want your story to be documented. So just a couple of things to just make note of as certified peer specialists, as Clem did such a wonderful job and such a thoughtful job with explaining the ethics and the boundaries and how to walk both the lines of what you should do, what you need to do, and what you can do. All right, so as I said in the chat, the feedback survey is in there. I will go ahead and put it in there one more time. If you are looking to receive continuing education hours, please fill out the feedback survey. It is open for 2 weeks. It will be closed, let me see here. It will be closed on Thursday, October 2nd at 4:30. We will not be able to reopen it. So again, if you are looking for CEHs, please fill that feedback survey out. Once it is closed, we will send out certificates. So the latest you should get your certificate is Thursday, October 9th. If you don't receive it by then, please reach out to us and we can see what may be going on. Otherwise, thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care.